Welcome to the complete guide for virtual machine in Google Cloud Platform along with demo. My name is Rohit Garg and I welcome you on our YouTube channel Decode ITES. Decode ITES provides you single learning platform for multiple IT technologies. In this session, we will cover understanding of compute instances, what is permittable and shield VM instances, what is the process of live migration in GCP, compute engine dashboard in GCP, storage options and disk type, how to create VM in GCP using Web Console and gCloud, how to change VM machine type and add or modify the disk, what is GCP snapshot and how to create and restore the snapshot. Understanding of compute instance in Google Cloud Platform. Next chapter in our Google Cloud Learning series. Compute instance or virtual machine in GCP. A virtual machine is a separate machine created over physical one with some resources from physical machine. A virtual machine can have separate operating system or network than the physical host. We will be discussing about virtual machine instances hosted on Google Cloud Platform, also known as compute instances. In GCP, all VM created with UTC time zone regardless of your time zone or selected region time zone. Key factors of compute instance in Google Cloud Platform. There are a list of key factors that impact the working and the planning of compute instance in Google Cloud environment. Let's start with one by one and their impact and the description. First is OS image. Compute instance in GCP can be created using public image of Linux or Windows operating system that Google provided, or customized or private images created by you or imported from other sources. Customized and private images need additional configuration and may lead to additional cost. That means this is the key factor. If we are going to choose the public image, then cost will be low, but configuration will be according to Google's environment or the best practices. But if you decide to go with the customized one, then it will be configured according to your need but lead to additional cost. Next is project. Each resources in Google Cloud Platform belongs to project. When you create a VM in project, you mention zone, storage, operating system and machine type. Based on the billing account associated with the project, VM is charged. That means selecting a project is very crucial. In case you are managing multiple projects and billing is coming from different departments of your company or different projects, then while creating or at the time of creating the VM, you need to be very specific to select the project so that the required VM will get charged from the required project only. Next is storage. In GCP, each virtual machine has a small boot persistent disk used to keep the operating system. This disk created at the time of compute instance creation and machine use this for startup. You can further add storage for application or database files. GCP provide multiple type of storage. You can review and choose as per your business requirement or application load. Next is network. Each compute instance or VM is connected to at least one VPC virtual private network. Compute instance can continue using a physical box network or can have a separate network. That means when you create a compute instance over GCP environment, that instance can continue to use the default network, or you can create a separate network for that machine or a group of machines. Next is access. You can access your instance in multiple ways based on operating system. For Linux, you can create SSH key or OS user credentials. And for Windows, you can create AD login or OS user credentials. So on basis of OS, you can have these separate ways to connect to your virtual machine. Next one is GPU support. Compute instance provided GPU graphical processing unit support, and you can add GPU resource to your instance. In case you are using 3D rendering or virtualization, you can leverage your machines to explore it. The availability of GPU resources and versions are subject to availability with the particular region. You can explore the list of GPU resources available with different regions. This list is publicly available on Google Cloud documentation, and Google is keeping it updated on regular basis. And last is machine types. Machine type is set of hardware for virtual machine instance. The selection of appropriate machine type is required for well functioning of your application or process with efficient budget control. Compute instance consists of vCPU, memory, network, disk, persistent disk, GPU support, and multiple other things. You need to select the machine type at the time of VM creation. In GPU, you can change the machine type whenever required, subject to availability in the required region. That means if you are using the smaller machine and now your application load increase and you want to move to the one of the hardware machine listed in the Google Cloud documentation, you can go to that, but it's subjected to available in selected region. If at the time of the upgrade that particular machine type is not available in particular region due to hardware limitations, then you will not get and you need to look for another available machine options. In GCP, Google provides you primarily four type of machines, and their list of machines are divided on basis of these four categories. Let's review all machine types one by one. The major one is general purpose machine. General purpose machine types offer the best price performance ratio for variety of workloads. In general purpose machine, you will primarily get four type of machines: E2 machines, N2, N2D and N1 machines. E2 machines are cost optimized VM that support up to 32 vCPUs and 8 GB RAM per CPU. E2 runs on either Intel or second generation AMD processors. These machines are low cost for day-to-day operations and best for web or app applications, back office applications, small and medium databases, microservices, virtual desktop services, and development environments. You can have custom machines or custom configuration machines in E2 section without local SSD support. Whereas N2, N2D and N1, N2 machines are a bit higher than E2 and support 80 CPUs with similar 8 GB memory support per CPU. These machines are available on Intel Cascade and GPU platforms. N2D machines support up to 224 vCPUs with 8 GB of RAM per CPU. These machines are available with second generation AMD EPYC ROM platform. And next is N1 machine types which can support 96 vCPUs, and the difference is only 6.5 GB RAM is available per CPU and is available over Intel, IB, Broadwell or Skylake CPU platforms. These three machines are best for balanced price and performance and purpose web and app applications, back office applications, medium and large databases, cache, and media and streaming. All three machines are available with custom configurations and support of local SSD. Next type of machine is memory optimized. Memory optimized machines are ideal for memory intensive workloads because they offer more memory per core than other machine types. Up to 12 terabyte of RAM is available per machine. These machines can be divided into two types: memory optimized UltraMem and memory optimized MegaMem. Usage as mentioned: high memory workloads. Examples are large in-memory databases like SAP HANA and in-memory analytics. Difference between memory optimized UltraMem and memory optimized MegaMem is memory optimized UltraMem is available with custom machine configuration and local SSD support, whereas memory optimized MegaMem is available with custom configuration but local SSD is not supported. Third type of machine is available is compute optimized. Compute optimized machines offer the highest performance per core on compute engine and optimized for compute intensive or CPU intensive workloads. Compute optimized machines type offer Intel scalable processor up to 3.8 GHz sustainable all core turbo. This is the current configuration. In future, there is a possibility that Google increase this limit. The best to use for the high CPU intensive workloads like HPC, electronic design automation, gaming, single thread application, and some highly OLTP operating databases. Best part is these machines support both custom configuration as well as local SSD support. Last one is shared core machine. Shared core machine types are available in N1, E2 families. These machine types timeshare a physical core. This can be cost-effective method for running small, non-resource intensive applications. There are two types of machines available under shared core is E2 and N1. E2 is E2 micro, E2 small and E2 medium. Shared core machine that have up to 2 vCPUs available for short period of bursting. And in N1, F1 micro, G1 small, shared core machines are available up to 1 vCPU for short period of bursting. Both machine types are best for small and shared application processes. Best to use for test machines and shared applications. The difference is E2 machine doesn't support custom configurations and local SSD, whereas N1 machine supports the custom configuration but local SSD support is missing. These four type of machines will give you a list of options when you browse the Google Cloud page for machine types. There are a list of division they have done in each machine type with the different configuration of memory and CPUs. You can choose the appropriate configuration according to your workloads and it's going to help you in proper budgeting and smart spending. Instance lifecycle. When you decide all key factors and all configurations and you are ready to create a VM machine, instance lifecycle comes into the picture. Particular instance goes into the multiple phases to work in efficient manner. A VM or compute instance can transition through multiple stages as a part of instance lifecycle. The first part is provisioning. State when you create an instance and allocate resources, however, instance is not running. This is just a configuration. You just completed the VM configuration part and allocate resources to it. Second is staging. Resources allocated to the instance have been acquired and instance is ready to boot. This is the stage where you can say get set go. Machine is ready to launch. Third is running. State when instance is booting up and running. You can do SSH or use server credentials to connect instance. This is the stage where you are charged for running VM as well as the attached resources. An instance can move to three stages from here. First is stopping that will lead to terminate. We will discuss it in coming slide. Second is suspending which lead to suspended. Same we will discuss in next slide. And last is resetting. Resetting is cleanup process more than the stage. In resetting, wipe the memory content of the VM instance and reset the virtual machine to its original state. Resetting issue the hard restart and does not do the graceful shutdown. Although machine persistent disk data will remain intact. So be careful while doing the resetting because your users may face the immediate disconnection with their data and their working, or they may lose their unsaved data. Fourth stage is stopping. Here the instance is stopped on the user request or due to some failures. The Google Cloud Platform Compute Engine Services we had two special type of VM machines which are permittable and shield VM instance. We will discuss about them. What are the special about these two type of VMs? Special VM types in GCP. Google Cloud Platform also provide two special type of VM and compute instances other than standard one. These VMs are special due to their different characteristics and cost standards. These are permittable VM instance and shield VM instance. Let's start with what is permittable VM instance and its characteristics. Permittable VM instances are temporary VM instances that you can create and run at no cost or lower cost. Permittable VM instances are configured to use additional resources of your project on sharing basis. As and when the resources are needed, controlled by original owner, the compute engine shut down the machine and assign resource to demanding tasks. Compute engine can terminate these instances when resources are asked by the process or after a hard stop interval of 24 hours. In case you restart your permittable instance, this will reset your 24 hours counter. That means either you restart your machine, it will reinitiate the counter of 24 hours, or that means when resources is demanded back by the original instances, this machine can goes down or after the interval of 24 hours, GCP shut down these machines. Commutable instances are dependent on assigned resources, and there may be a possibility that resources are not able to create and start machine. Commutable instance cannot be used for live migrations and drive no SLA license. That means you can't claim anything to Google in case these machines goes down. These are giving you low performance and any further issues while using these machines. Google free account credits are not valid to create permittable instance. That means if you are using the free account for testing purpose or you have just created your account and start your business over GCP, your free credits will not be allowed to use for permittable VM instances. In case you are using premium OS like Windows on permittable instance, you will be charged with OS cost. Commutable instance comes up with local SSD and GPU support. However, it will lead to additional cost. Other than this, permutable instances are instant. That means you can create them on the fly without any wait. Expandable, that means you can extend the resources of those VM machines if required. Fixed price, you need to pay a fixed amount for using them. And quickly reclaimed, as and when needed, you can just shut down those machines and reclaim the resources assigned to those machines after work done. In short, permittable instances are completely user friendly. Who plans to do a lot with little extra effort on fixed price or no price? Commutable instance shutdown process. Why it is important to understand the instance process? Because we just see in case your resources are asked back by the original instances, your machine will go down, or after the interval of 24 hours, your machine will go down. You should know the standard process of shutting down. This will ensure that your data will be saved or intact when your machine goes down. Commutable instances follow the graceful shutdown process. In step 1, Compute Engine sends a preemption notice in ACPI G2 soft off signal. This helps you to plan a graceful shutdown of system. You can have a script in place for automated action on this signal. After 30 seconds, if Compute Engine found instance is still running, Compute Engine sends a ACPI G3 mechanical off signal to shut down the system. And step 3, after shutdown, the compute engine moves the instance to the terminated state. That means after step 1, you can have your automated scripts that can save your files, clean the state so that your data is saved and you will find it intact when you start that machine or when you use that data again. In step 2, in case still machine is running and you don't have that scripts in place, it will gives you 30 seconds to your machine to wind off, and after that it will send you mechanical off. That means hard stop for your system. Once your system is shut down, it will automatically move to terminated stage so that no extra cost will occur for these machines. Shield VM. Shielded VMs are virtual machines on Google Cloud Platform with an extra security layer. VMs protected by Shield VMs protects your VM instance from threats like remote attack, privilege escalation, boot or kernel level malware, rootkits, and malware insiders. Shield VM achieve a high level of security functionality through secure boot, major boot, virtual trusted platform module, UEFI firmware, along with integrity monitoring. Shield VMs achieve this high-level security functionality through multiple features, which are Secure Boot, Measured Boot, Virtual Trusted Platform Module, UEFI firmware, and integrity monitoring. We will discuss about these options in coming slides in details. Let's start with Secure Boot. What exactly Secure Boot and how it works? Secure boots ensure only authorized software runs on system by verifying the digital signature of all the boot components and halting the boot process if signature verification fails. Shield VM instance runs on Unified Extendable Firmware Instance UEFI 2.3.1 firmware and gives you secure boot functionality. These VMs runs on firmware signed and verified by Google Certificate Authority, ensuring that instance firmware is unmodified and establishing the root of security for secure boot. On each boot, UEFI verifies the digital signature of each component against the stored approved keys. Any boot component that is not properly signed or is not signed at all is not allowed to run. In case of any issues, VM will not load and gives you an error UEFI failed to load image and status is security violation. This is to ensure that there is no unknown process or unknown software is running with your VM machine. And all these things are checked during the boot only to ensure that that software will not run and corrupt or create issues with your system. Next is Virtual Trust Platform Module VTPM. A VTPM means Virtualized Trusted Platform Module, which ensures authorized access to system with required components. VTPM is two-step process, measured boot followed by integrative monitoring. Measured boot is a process of generating component hash and save it as last good boot baseline. Measured boot starts generating the hash value of each component in sequence by clubbing it with the hash value of last component. The final hash value is considered as final baseline and saved as last good boot baseline. In image you can see boot sequence, component 1, component 2, component 3. That means in boot sequence these components come in this sequence. So in measured boot it will generate the hash of component 1 and saves it. When component 2 start, it generates the hash of the component 2 and merge it with component 1 hash and generate a new hash value. Now when component 3 start, it generates the hash of component with the combined hash of 1 and 2. This process continues till the all components are not loaded. Once every component is loaded, it will save the final hash value as a saved measurement or as a final last good baseline for the comparison purpose during the next boot. Integrative monitoring. Integrative monitoring is the process of comparing that we just said with the current final hash value, the last good boot baseline hash value. In this difference, an alarm start. The hash value can be changed when component change or component missing or added or component sequence change. Integrity monitoring is the process of comparing the hash values. The hash value that we have just generated above is saved as the last good baseline value. And next time when your machine start, it will generate the fresh hash value and it will compare the both of those both values. In case of any difference, it will raise an alarm and there may be possibility that this difference come because of any missing components, any new component is added, any component is modified or sequence of component is changed. Any of the combination is changed will change result the different hash value and alarm that hash is changed and you need to check that manually or you can add the scripts for detailed information. However, in case everything is good, it will save the current boot value as an last good non-boot value for the comparison of next boot. Features of Shield VMs. Features of Shield VM, verifiable integrity with secure and major boot. We have just discussed about them. VTPM generates and securely stores encryption key and sensitive data on cached operating system. Shield VM works on UEFI firmware, which replaces the legacy BIOS subsystem and enables UEFI secure boot capabilities. Integrity measurement helps identifying changes from healthy baseline of your VM and current runtime state. GCP provides cloud logging and monitoring, which helps in monitoring such states with the logs. Live migration and patching helps you to keep your instance running when a host system events occur, such as software or hardware upgrade. GCP IAM policies and permissions helps to manage the use of Shield VM disk images and have VTPM and integrity option enabled for all the machines or for a limited set of machines. Shielding existing VM machine options helps you to migrate your existing VMs into Shield VMs in GCP. Shield VM is free. There is no separate charge you need to pay for using Shield VMs. However, Shield VMs is not available for all machine types or all zones. That means its availability is limited when you are selecting the appropriate zone or appropriate machine type. This option is enabled for you. Today we will discuss about the live migration concept of VM instances in GCP. Live migration of VM instances in GCP. Live migration of VM instance is key feature of Google Cloud Platform Compute Engine. In Google Words, Compute Engine offer live migration to keep your virtual instances running even when a host system event occurs like software or hardware updates. Compute Engine migrates your running instance to another host in same zone instead of requiring your VM to be rebooted. This allows Google to perform maintenance that is integral to keeping infrastructure protected and reliable without interrupting any of your VM. When VM is scheduled to be live migrated, Google provides a notification to guests migration is going to start. That means when Google needs downtime for host maintenance like BIOS upgrade, patches, hardware correction, etc., your VM instance will be migrated to another host without any downtime. This is need of an hour in today's time when systems are busy 24/7 and downtime planning is most critical task for user-facing systems. Live migration supports the VM running with local SSD, whereas VM instances with GPU and printable VM instances do not support live migrations, whereas VM instance with GPU and printable VM instances do not support live migration. This instance will be terminated at the time of migration. The best part is live migration feature is completely free. You need not to pay anything extra for this option. What can trigger live migrations? Several conditions are there to trigger live migration. Some of them are listed below for reference. Timely maintenance and upgrades of infrastructure, maintenance network and power grid maintenance, replacement of end-of-life hardware, hardware failures like CPU, memory, network cards, disk, power, and so on, host OS, firmware, and BIOS upgrades, security-related patches with urgent deployments, system configuration changes, including changing in host root partition for storage of host image and packages. These are some of the events that need the host downtime and cause the live migration for your VMs hosted on that particular host. How to enable option of live migration for VM instances in GCP. To enable the option of live migration for VM instance in GCP, you need to follow the 5 steps. First, you need to go to Google Cloud Console, Compute Engine, and go to VM instance page. In VM instance page, select the VM for which you want to enable the option and go to the details. In VM detail, click on Edit Instance. Now you need to go to the options where you need to enable live migration. Go to the availability policies and set the value for on-host maintenance to migrate VM instance. In case you do not want live migration, you can set it to terminate. Now you need to turn on automatic restart as well. This will restart the machine on a new host in case instance got crashed or terminated. This is the safer side rule for live migration issues or issues other than live migration which are completely unplanned. So this is the 5 steps that you need to perform to enable live migration. Let's explore the disable enable option of live migration from Google Cloud Console. For this, you need to go to Compute Engine and in Compute Engine, go to VM instances. Once you reach to VM instances page, you need to select the particular VM for which you want to change this option. We have only one VM is there, so you need to click here and it will open the properties of VM instance. Once properties are open, you can view the current settings. For that, we will go down and here is availability policies. Primitively on host maintenance is already mentioned, migrated to VM instance, and automatic restart is already mentioned on. Both are also shared there or recommended. Let's edit this VM instance properties and see what all options we have available. So you can see on host maintenance, you have option of VM instance migration and terminate VM instance. So we will keep it on migrate VM instance. Similarly, automatic restart, you have an option of on or off, so we will keep it on. So this is the way by which you can enable or disable the live migration option for your particular VM instance in Google Cloud Platform. We will just save the details after you make the changes, and these details will remain there and work as per the settings. When next time live migration occurs, that works as the settings configured by you. Live migration process. Live migration process is one of the key features of Google Cloud Compute Engine. It moves the VM from one host to another, and complete migration is transferred to guest OS and connected users. VM live migration process begins with notification to move VM due to multiple factors that need host maintenance like BIOS upgrade or patching. Google Cluster Maintenance keeps watching such events and trigger migration as per set policies and schedule. Live migration stages. Once VM is selected by Google Cluster Manager, the migration process triggers and asks the destination host to keep empty VM ready for migration. This is three-stage process. First is pre-migration burnout. This is initial phase where VM instances are still running on source or original host and VM state are already sent to destination or new host. Google Engine copies all files and memories to target VM. The time required to pre-migration state copy is completely depends on VM size. Next is blackout. This is second phase and most crucial one. This is the time when VM is not running on any host. VM is paused to send all state to target host. The blackout phase is restricted to 5 seconds. In a blackout, the system clock jumps forward to 5 seconds, and in case blackout is not completed in this time, process breaks and VM live migration will be cancelled and machine will comes online in original host only. And last is post-migration burnout. This is the last phase where your VM is online on new target host and your source VM on original host is still available for any sort of data required or till the time network catch up with the connection on new VM. In meantime, any connection received by the source VM will be automatically forwarded to the target host. So this is the process of complete live migration in Google Cloud Platform and how it actually performed. This is very useful and very beneficial when your system is running and need 24/7 uptime for user facing functionalities. Although you need not to do anything or you can't control the live migration functionality other than enabling or disabling it, this understanding gives you brief how actually Google's performing these things and gives you a better understanding of cloud environment. Today we will discuss about storage options and disk types in GCP. Storage in Google Cloud Platform. GCP provides data storage options for your files on the cloud. These files can be your application files, backup files, media, setup, and binaries. Google Cloud Platform Compute Engine provides multiple type of storage options for your instance. Journal, regional persistent disk, and local SSDs are more crucial from instance perspective because these three are major options for your local instance storage, whereas cloud storage bucket is used for affordable storage for backups and other files with unlimited space, and file store as name implies is used for file share or file storage for Google users. Google storage can be divided into two major components, major storage options and further disk types. Primary and major storage options. These five are major storage options available in Google Cloud Platform for storage choice. Zonal persistent disk, efficient, reliable block storage. Regional persistent disk is regional block storage replicated in two zones. That means it gives you data redundancy over two zones. Local SSD, high performance transit and local block storage. Cloud storage bucket is affordable unlimited object storage. File store is high performance file storage for Google Cloud users. Sub-storage options or disk types. These are valid for journal and persistent disk only. Journal and persistent disks are divided with three different disk types based on disk, cost, and performance. Standard persistent disk is backed up by standard hard disk drives and known for low performance and low cost. Balanced persistent disk is backed up by solid state drives SSDs and they are an alternative to SSD persistent disk that gives you balanced performance and balanced cost. Next is SSD persistent disk. SSD persistent disk is backed up by SSDs and it gives you high performance on high cost. SSD versus standard disk. While drafting storage option and disk types in GCP, we found that most of the disks are differentiated between standard and SSD disk types. We think it's good to have a difference between them for better understanding. We have drafted some of the major differences between both disk types. Let's start one by one. Description: SSD means solid state disk because there is no spinning disk. Data is stored in chips, whereas standard disks are set of spinning magnetic disks. Head is responsible to move and read and write data between disks. When we come to power and battery life, SSD gives you better battery life because it's a less zone storage, whereas standard storage is on the high power. Cost: SSDs are expensive one and standard disks are cheaper one. Capacity: because of high in cost, SSDs are available in smaller sizes, whereas due to cheap in cost, standard disks are available in very high size. Operating system boot time: SSD gives you very fast boot time, and in opposite to that, standard disk boot time is very low. Noise and vibration: there is no moving head, no spinning disk that cause no noise and vibration. In opposite to that, in a standard disk, magnetic disk are spinning and head need to move that cause noise and vibration. Heat production: in continuation to above difference, due to no movement, heat production is very less, and in standard, due to spinning disk, rotating disk, and head movement, heat production is high. Speed: SSDs are known for their high speed, and standard disks are slower one. Magnetic effect: in SSD, we just see that data is saved in chips. There is no impact of magnet over SSD drives. Whereas in standard disks are magnetic disks. Data is saved in magnetic disk and magnet can erase that data. Storage communication protocols. SSD support NVMe, non-volatile memory express, and SCSI both protocols, but in standard NVMe protocol support is missing. NVMe is latest protocol for flash storage kind of drives. I hope this reference gives you a better understanding what exactly the difference between SSD and standard storage and why one gives you a low cost and low performance and other gives you high cost, high performance. When we club the storage and disk type combination available in GCP, we comes up with multiple disk options. Let's start one by one. Zonal persistent disk. In zonal persistent disk, when we combine them with disk types, we come up with a three type of zonal persistent disk. It's zonal standard persistent disk, which is known as efficient, which is known for efficient, reliable block storage, data redundancy till zone only. Next is zonal balanced persistent disk, cost effective and reliable block storage. It gives you balanced performance, balanced cost. Next is zonal SSD persistent disk, fast and reliable block storage, high cost, high performance. And all these three zonal disks gives you a data redundancy till zone only. Next storage option is regional persistent disk. Similar to zonal persistent disk, regional persistent disk is divided into three types of disk types. Regional standard persistent disk gives you efficient reliable block storage with synchronous replication across two zones in region. This gives you low cost, low performance and data redundancy over two regions. Regional balanced persistent disk gives you cost-effective, reliable block storage with synchronous application across two zones, balanced performance, balanced cost, and data redundancy over two regions. Next is SSD persistent disk, fast and reliable block storage with synchronous application between two zones in a region. Because of SSD characteristics, this disk type gives you high performance, high cost, and data redundancy between two zones. Next is local SSD. Local SSD are divided into further two types, but those are not the disk type, those are the protocols. High performance block storage with SCSI protocol and high performance block storage for NVMe SCSI protocol. Both are high performance, high cost, but NVMe is having a overhand over SCSI. However, NVMe protocol is ahead of SCSI protocol because it's the latest one and especially developed for flash drives. You can see we have one more column which is specifying the maximum capacity per instance. You can see zonal and regional persistent disks having the higher capacity of 275 257 terabyte, whereas local SSDs is only 9 terabyte because local SSDs will be local to that particular instance. That's why storage limitation or maximum capacity of storage is very low. Cloud storage buckets are cloud storage, and data redundancy is regional, dual, and multi-region, and maximum capacity is almost infinite. Let's review Compute Engine dashboard in Google Cloud. Now I will take you to with the dashboard overview of Compute Engine in Google Cloud Platform or what all options we have in Compute Engine in GCP Cloud. For this, you just need to click here, and here you will find the option of Compute Engine. Why I'm just browsing this dashboard for you or this Compute Engine page for you, because it has the multiple options, and before we start working on GCP for Compute Engine and VM instances part, we should explore this page for our better understanding. For this, you can see you have first option is VM instances, where you will find all your VM instances created under GCP Cloud account. You can change the projects from here, and it will show the respective VM of that project in this list. Next is instance group. You can create a group of the instance for a specific purpose, and that instance or set of instances will be a part of that particular group. You can create the group from here. Instance template. You can create a template of instance. That means where as and when you create an instance, you can apply that template for basic configuration that you want. Solo tenant nodes. This is special type of machine which was deployed on separate hardware for you and will not impact the or will not share the hardware where other customers machines are lying. Machine images. You can create a machine image from here, and that image can be applied to the machines when you are creating a new VM instances. This is very useful because you need not to do the configuration changes or selection of different options at a time of VM creation. Everything will be part of this machine image, and you can just use it. This will give you the overview of all available disks in this particular project under GCP Cloud account, and which disk is associated with which VM, with zone and size. Type of the disk is also mentioned here. Snapshots. A snapshot helps you to take the snapshot, and you can schedule the snapshot from here. You can take the ad hoc snapshot from here, and this is very useful option for backup purpose of your VM instances and disk. These are some images. You can create the new image. tGPU. This is the option that list use options are there. You can launch a compute TPU instance to access the latest generation of machine learning hardware that powers Google Search, Street View, Google Photos, Google Translate. If you're using that kind of functionality in your application, that you can use this type of machine. Migrate compute engine. That means you can migrate your in on premise or machine on other cloud to the GCP environment. There are some other options like metadata of machine or your project, which shows the details related to SSH and other things. These are the zones available. Network endpoints. You have not created network endpoint yet. We have not created any network endpoint yet. We will be creating in upcoming chapters. Security scans, OS management. There are lots of things are available in Compute Engine. Settings will give you the option that you can change the default location. That means even when you create a new machine, it will automatically select the region or zone on the basis of your default location. You can see this Compute Engine page is very user friendly and things are very well definedly grouped in different sections so that users can easily access them for their requirements. We will be exploring how to create VM instance, how to create disk, how to take a snapshot in upcoming chapters. Today we will go through the steps of creating virtual machine using GCP console page. Create VM in GCP. We have discussed the compute engine and virtual machine concepts in GCP in detail. Now we will create a virtual machine in GCP using GCP Web Console and explore all options available during creation like selection of OS image, public or customized, enable or disable shelled VM concept, add additional non-boot disk with the machine. These are the steps that you can follow to create virtual machine in GCP console page. For this, you first need to log into the Google Cloud Console. Then you need to select the project name. You need to click on instance name. You need to click on create instance, select the name of your instance, zone for your instance, select the configuration and machine type for your machine. In boot section, you need to select the OS image, whether you want to go with the customized image or with the public image provided by Google. On basis of that, you need to do the configuration. After that, you need to confirm once your boot selection is done. Select for the HTTP traffic, allowed or not for your VM. Then you need to configure it for the security options like turn on secure boot or VTPM for the Shield VM concept. And now you have option of adding a additional non-boot disk with your VM for the additional purpose, or when you bring your machine up, use that particular disk for application or other files. Once you click on create, your VM will be created. Let's move to the Google Cloud Console page and we will perform these steps and review all available options while creating virtual machine. This is our Google Cloud dashboard page or web console home page. For creation of virtual machine, you need to click here and you need to browse to Compute Engine and VM instances. Once you click on VM instances, it will take you to the VM homepage and it will list down the all available instances in your particular selected project. To create a new VM or new instance, you need to click on create instance and now your journey of creation of VM is started. For this, you need to provide the machine name. So we are going to give it a Rohit demo VM. You can add the label if you want. So we will create a label like training demo. Save is completely optional whether you want to do it or not. Now, region and zone is automatically selected by the Google Cloud Console. In case you found that regions selected or zone selected is not appropriate for you, you can just browse the drop down and change the region or the zone from here. For this session, we will use the default one, but if you want, you can change it. Now, next is machine configuration. We have discussed that there are a list of machine configurations in available in GCP in our previous sessions. Now you can see the general purpose, memory optimized and compute optimized. Three type of machines are available. We will go with the general one, and in general one you have a E category, N2 category and N2D category. For any of that you can select like E2 and now you have a E2 machine options available. You can select any of the machine that you want. Similarly for N2 you have a list of options available. If you want that your application going to host on this server is going to be memory intensive or process is going to be memory intensive, you can use the memory machines. Or similarly, if you think your load will be CPU intensive, you can select the compute optimized machines. But for the testing one, we will go with the general purpose machine. Now we need to select the boot image. You can see one of the boot image is automatically selected here, but we want to change it. Once you click on change, it will give you an option of public images and custom images. First of all, if you are fine with the current selected operating system or version from the public image, you need not to change it, but you can configure the size of the boot persistent disk or the boot disk for this particular machine. But in case this operating system or version is not fine for you, you can just from the drop down you can change the operating system. Like we want to go with the CentOS, and we have a CentOS version 6, 7, 8, and we will go with the CentOS 8. Now you can see that it's mentioned that support Shield VM feature, support Shield VM feature, but CentOS 6 it doesn't mention. That means this particular OS image supports the Shield VM, and we have already mentioned in our Seed VM concept that only limited images support the Shield VM features. So if you want to use it, select the features, select the OS image that support Shield VM. So we will select this. And similarly, if you want boot size to be increased, you can change the size here. Similarly, if you want to go with the custom images, you can go to the custom tab and you can select the image from the project like demo 2. But as of now, we have not uploaded any of the customized image that we can use for this project. But process is same. Once you select the project from here, it will list down the all available images in this particular project, and you can use that for your testing purpose. So we will go with the Debian operating system. Version is Debian operating system 10 because it supports the Shield VM as well. And we will not change the boot size for this session, and click on select. So it's selected now. Identity and API access. So you want to select the service account that was created by default by the Google, and the configurations or the access to that particular account or the machine that you are going to create. You can control that from here. After that, you have a setting of firewall. Allow HTTP traffic or HTTPS traffic. As mentioned in slide, when you enable or disable this option, GCP Compute Engine adds a network tag to it and redirect only the required traffic to this VM instance. Further settings, you need to click here for management, security, disk and network related things. Once you click here, in management, you can see you can add the description of this machine, startup scripts if you want for this machine. And in security, if you go, you can see that now you can see Shield VM option is enabled here. You can select and deselect the options that you want. By default, VTPM and integrity monitoring is enabled. If you want to enable the secure boot, you can click here, or if you don't want, you can just deselect it. Or if you want only VTPM will be there and you want to remove the integrity monitoring, that's completely on your choice. All options are available and you can choose as per your wish and requirement. SSH block. So this is the block or the process by which you can connect your machine using the SSH method. If you have the key available with you, you can just use it. Otherwise, it will use the key provided by the Google. Next is disk. As mentioned, you can add the additional non-boot disk if you want. For this, you can just click on new disk. Disk name is disk 1. Description. Now you have an option that you want to choose balance persistent, SSD persistent, or local SSD, or standard persistent. It also gives you option of scheduling the snapshot of this particular disk because it's going to be helpful when you take the snapshot. It's a kind of backup of this particular disk. So let's go with the standard one only because we are just doing a demo. Blank disk with read-write permissions, or you want it to be imaged from other snapshots. But we don't have any snapshots available, so we will go with the blank disk. So we will go with the blank disk only. This is the size that you want to give. This is the information only that this much IOPS this disk can support. Encryption is by default we are going with the Google managed keys. For the boot one as well, if you go up, you can see that for the boot one as well, you are using the or we are using the Google managed keys. Now we are done with the configuration. What we have done, we have selected the instance name, we have selected the region and zones, we have selected the OS image, whether it was public or customized one. In public or customized one, we have selected the boot disk size. Now after that, we will select the HTTP or HTTPS firewall rule settings. After that, we comes to this management and security pane. We select whether we want to use the Shield VM concept or not, and we have added the non-boot disk to particular VM instance for our future use. We are done with the configuration and now we will click on create. The machine is in creation, it's taking time. Now your machine is created and up. This green symbol is showing that your instance is currently running. For your information, these internal IPs are something related to your Google internal infrastructure. In case your machines are offline, like other offline instances, these IPs will not be deallocated. This is something referred by Google, how to manage those instances and how to connect with those instances internally. Somehow, whenever your instance is running, you will get an external IP. This is for you to create a connections or to connect with that particular instance. To connect the instance, we have an option of SSH, open in browser window, custom port, and we have some more options here like stop, suspend, delete, view network details, view machine image, or view logs. For this, we will use the open in browser window. It will configure the SSH key for this VM connected with the machine that we have just created. So we will check some of the things. Host name is Zohid Dev VM. So this is that we have created. Let's check whether the disks are available or not that we have created. Sudo fdisk -l. And now you can see you have one additional disk of 500 gigs, which is non-boot disk that we have added and is available here. So you can use it for your application load or application files purpose. You can close this session, and for other operations like stop this VM, suspend this VM, reset or delete, you can perform these actions from here. So for now, we will stop this machine because we don't want to consume the resources that can occur the cost to our demo project. So this machine is going down, you can see, and it will grayed out once shutdown is completed. Once it's stopped, you will see that external IP will also be deallocated. It will not be enabled. And when you restart your machine again, this IP will be the different one. You can see it's grayed out and your instance is stopped. Today we will explore how to create VM in GCP using gcloud command line utility. Creation of VM in GCP. We had discussed the compute engine and virtual machine concepts in detail. Now we will create virtual machine in GCP using gcloud command line utility and explore all options during creation. We can review gcloud compute instance create --help for details of options available for VM creation through gcloud. We can use the option that we want to configure for newly created VM. A list of gcloud command options is very long for VM creation. We will use some of major options for VM creation using gcloud command line utility. You can explore other options in your testing labs after this session. Let's start with the demo of VM creation through gcloud. Welcome to the demo session. In this demo session, we will see how we can create virtual machine in GCP using gcloud command line utility. For this, I have opened the Cloud Shell in separate window, and now we will execute VM related or compute instance related commands one by one. For this, first we will look for the help option. Gcloud compute -help. We are using the short help here to see just the parameters or the options available. For detail, you can go with the detail help as mentioned here. Let's see what option or details we have in details. This is the compute instance detail help. You can see it's mentioned that gcloud compute instances read and manipulate compute engine virtual machines. And we have a tags like account, billing project, configuration, flag files, format. Similar to this, we have some commands associated with it. What exactly you want to do within the instances, like add access configuration, IAM policies, labels, add tags, attach disk, create machines, create with container, delete access config. There are list of command options are available for gcloud compute instance command. Now first we will list down all the compute instance available in our Google Cloud account in particular project. For this command is gcloud compute instances list, and when you run it, it will show the current available machines in my demo project 2, and there is only one machine is available, Rohit demo VM. that we have created using the Google Cloud Web Console. Now we will create the machines from CLI, and the command is gcloud compute instances create CLI demo VM. This will be the VM name. When you click enter, it will take configuration details according to the project selected, my project demo 2, and rest of the details Google Cloud Engine decide itself, because at the time of machine creation we see that zone or the boot image is automatically selected as a default one. So here it will work on that. In case you want to configure different machine option or a different boot file or different OS image file, then you have to select those options using the parameters. So first we will create this simple VM, then we will create one more VM with specifying those options. It's asking me that you want to create it in Asia South Zone East. Although it's not a free zone, I'm just creating it for demonstration, but I suggest please do not create your machines other than always free zones, because it's going to incur cost. Once you click yes, it will move to machine creation and your machine is created. We will again run the list command, and you can see now we have two machines, CLI demo VM and Zohi demo VM. Now we'll see the options available with the create command. There are list of options available by which you pass the parameters and you can configure the machine as per your requirement. Now we will create the machine along with passing the details. For this demo session, we will pass the image, machine type and zone as an parameter to configure the compute instance as per our requirement. For this, first we need to list down what all image type and machine types are available. Then we will select the appropriate one for our configuration. Let's fetch the images available in GCP. For this, command is gcloud compute image list. You can see there are list of images are available, and you need to choose the appropriate one. I will use the less along with this, and so that we can have an option to choose and review. So we have CentOS, we have Debian, we have Fedora, Red Hat Linux, Sales, Ubuntu, Windows Server. Now we will list the machine types available in GCP. For this, command is gcloud compute machine types list, and we will use it along with less. It's fetching the details. These are the machine types available in GCP as of now. So we will choose the machine type as per our requirement. We have high MEM, CPU, ultra MEM, small, high CPU. All general purpose compute instance and memory intensive machines are available here. We will go with F1 micro. We will use the zone US Central Region B. You can also list down the list of zones using the compute method, like this command gcloud compute zones list, and it will show the complete list of zones available as per GCP. Right now we got all the parameter that we want to create our machine. So let's create the machine. So let's start the creation of machine, and command will be gcloud compute instances create machine name is CLI demo 1 and machine type is F1 micro and zone is US Central B. You just need to click enter and it will create the machine for you. Your machine is created. List down the available instances in GCP, and command is gcloud compute instances list. When you run it, it will list down all the instances available in GCP. Now we have three instances. Rohit demo VM is the one that we have created using console. CLI demo VM is one that we have created without passing any parameters, and CLI demo one that we have just created with the parameters. You can see the zone and the machine type is as per our requirement that we have passed. Now we will try to ping the machine. For this, we will use the machine name CLI demo 1 and set that machine name is not found because we have not done any kind of networking here. So this will come into the picture when we do networking kind of things, and we'll add these machines in AD or FQDN naming so that this machine can be pingable or reachable using the name. Now we will ping the machine using the internal IP. Please pass the -c as an option, otherwise the ping will keeps going on and it will not show you the results. So I forgot the pass the ping count and pass the 3. It will ping the 3 times. Now it's trying to ping the machine. 3 packet transmitted, 0 received, 100% packet loss. That means this IP is not pingable as well, because we also mentioned in our previous slides or chapters that these IPs are internal one for Google usage. Even your machine is offline, these IPs will be associated with the machine. So please don't try to use these IPs. So these are the internal to Google, and Google will use them for their purpose. Only thing we can connect as of now is the external IP. Let's see if ping is working for that or not. Yes, ping is working, so that we can connect the machine using this IP. To connect the machines, we have two options. One is SSH and one is server account or the OS accounts. But right now we can only connect using SSH because user accounts are not created yet. Once we are in system using the SSH, you can create the accounts and you can use them for the connectivity. To enable the SSH for this particular VM, we have a command gcloud compute SSH CLI VM demo 1. Sorry for the typo. Do you mean John this for this instance? No, because John for this instance is US Central B. I will pass on no. Now it's asking for me to enter the passphrase or the password for SSH. For my system or this account, I have already enabled the SSH. If this is the first time you are enabling this or using it, it will ask you to create the passphrase. And you need to remember that, because this will be used at a time of connectivity with the machines. In case you forgot that, it will going to create an issue, because in that case you will not be able to using the SSH. So I have already created it. I just need to pass the passphrase to connect to the machine. And now you can see the difference is showing CLI demo VM currently here. That means I am inside the machine. To verify this, we have one more way. We have plenty of websites available that just return the IP address of your local machine. So we will just try to open that website and we'll see what IP will return from inside the machine and when we are inside the cloud shell directly. So we will see the difference and it will show the different IPs that can clearly indicate that these are two different machines. For this, we will use the curl command, curl, and website that used for this will be https v for idnet.me, and it return the IP address here. Now we will just exit from this machine and we will run the curl command again. Now you can see the difference. The IP now is different one. That means I am in different machine right now, which is the machine on which Cloud Shell is running or provision to run the Cloud Shell. If you run the compute instance list, you will find that IP returned from CLI demo 1 when we run the curl command 3518886.167 is the IP of the machine available in external IP for this VM. This is just to ensure that we have connected to the VM and we are inside the VM. while running this command. So in this way, you can connect to the machine and you can start using it. Now we all know that this is our demo account and we have done the creation of the machine. We have done the creation of machine with parameters. We have connected using them SSH. We have tried to ping them and we know which will be the applicable or the correct IP to get them pinged. We know how to run the SSH or enable the SSH commands and how to ensure that you are inside the machine using the curl command. Now we will delete these VMs because this is the free account, and in case we didn't delete this VM or didn't stop them, it's going to create a cost or incur the cost. So now we will stop or delete the VMs. For this command is gcloud compute instances delete and VM name. Just for the confirmation. In this way, you can delete the VMs from your account when they are not in use or you don't want to use them. You can see one of the VM is deleted now. So this is the way you can delete the machines and clean your system when VMs are not in use or their purpose is fulfilled. Today I will take you with the process, how to change VM machine type in Google Cloud Platform and how to add or modify disk in VM machine. Change machine type of virtual machine in Google Cloud Platform. GCP provides multiple resource configuration for virtual machine instance on basis of general purpose, memory, and CPU optimized workloads. We have seen a list of available options as well. There may be a situation when you want to change the machine type after creation. This is very much possible without the installation on a single reboot of VM instance. To change the machine type, you need to browse the instance properties in Google Cloud Console, then Compute Engine, then VM instance. In VM instance, you need to locate your instance for which you want to change the machine type. Let me take you to with the steps of changing VM instance machine type in GCP. For this, you need to browse your Google Cloud Console page, and from here, you need to browse for Compute Engine, and in Compute Engine, you need to go to VM instances. In VM instances page, you will find all VM machines available in your Google Cloud account. To view the properties of machine or to make modifications in machine properties, you need to browse for the machine detail page. For this, you need to select the machine or click here. Once you click here, it will open the details of VM machine selected by you. Now you can see their list of details are available like instance ID, machine type, reservation, compute platform details, disk details, further settings like Shield VM, and permittable post maintenance for live migration. The details are available. To make any modification in these details, you need to click on Edit, and possible details are editable now. For this session, we will be changing the machine type. To change the machine type, you will get the option similar to as you get at the time of machine creation. From here, you can select the machine type from general purpose, memory optimized or compute optimized machines. Let's change the machine type from N1 1 CPU to 2 CPU. Now you just need to click on save. You will get the save option at the last of the page. Once you click on save, your instance details are updating. Once you reboot the machine, this machine will reboot with the new configuration that you have just selected. If you go up, you will see that your machine details are modified with 2 vCPU standard 2, that this is the new machine type for your VM instance. In this way, you can modify the machine type of your instance. Add or modify disk in GCP. The addition of additional disk or modifying existing disk is very regular practice and requirements. In GCP, you can do it on fly and do not need any downtime. Once a new disk is assigned to OS or capacity increase for existing disk, you need to act as guest OS to make them visible for application and users using a particular VM. Let's review the steps of adding new disk in any VM instance or increase the capacity of any existing disk. For this, you just need to browse for Compute Engine from your Google Cloud Console page, and in Compute Engine, you need to go to VM instances. In VM instances page, you will see the all instance available in your Google Cloud account. You need to click on any of the VM to edit the properties and review the properties. You need to click on VM and it will open the properties page from where you can edit the VM instance properties. So let's click on this VM and we will see what all options we have related to disk. You can see there are three disks currently associated with this VM. One is boot disk, which is basically a OS drive, and disk 1 and disk 2 is the additional disk which are attached to this VM. Let's add disk 3 in this VM. For this, just need to click on edit. Once you click on edit, you will see most of the options are editable now. Once you reach to the disk options, you will see existing disk 1 and 2 is available. So we will go with the add new disk. Once you click on add new disk, it will ask you for the disk name, description, disk type, whether you want to have a standard disk, SSD persistent disk or balance persistent disk. We will go with the standard one for this testing. The snapshot schedule, you can create the snapshot schedule and attach that schedule to this particular drive, and this drive snapshot will be generated or taken by Google Compute Engine according to the schedule. So currently we don't have any schedule right now, so we will skip this option. Now you have an option of blank disk, image disk, or snapshot disk. A snapshot disk that if you have any of the disk available or any of the disk snapshot is available, you can use that snapshot to create a disk drive. Now we will create a blank disk, read write mode, deletion rule. That means when you delete this drive from this OS, whether you want to delete this or you want to keep this, enable the keep disk option. That means your drive will be detached from the server but somehow available in the disk list that you can see from the disk page. If you click on delete disk, then your disk will be automatically deleted once you detach or delete from the VM instance. So we will do it for keep disk. Size is 500 GB. We are not going to change it. Next is Google managed keys, customer managed key or customer supplied keys, encryption types. So we will keep with the Google managed keys. Device name you want to change or you can keep it default. Once you click on done, a new disk of 500 gigs disk 3 is added and you can see new disk option is visible here. Now how you can delete the existing disk? You can click on this delete tab for the required disk that you want to delete and it will just delete the disk. But the disk is configured with keep alive option when you delete the disk. So we will just save this machine and browse to the disk page and see if disk 2 is available there. Disk 2 is not associated by any of the VM. How we can increase the capacity of disk? Let's go to the disk 3 under the disk and you can see the capacity is 500 gigs. To edit the disk, you need to click on edit and you can see size option is now editable. Now you can edit the disk size and we will make it 600 gigs. Save. Your disk 3 is now 600 gigs. We will go back to the VM instance. In VM instance properties, we will just verify whether VM instance is able to recognize that disk 3 is now 600 gigs instead of 500. So we will click on the instance name from VM instance and it will show the VM properties. And once you reach to disk, it is still not updated yet because it will take some time for reflecting here. We will just refresh the page and you can see disk 3 is now of 600 GBs. We have just completed our demo session and we have covered how we can modify the VM machine type, how we can add the disk, how we can delete the existing disk, how we can modify or increase the capacity of current disk, and how we can and what is deletion rules, keep disk and delete disk. These things are very helpful and one of the regular or day-to-day activities for GCP admin or infra admins. So this is going to helpful for you when you are planning to maintain any environment over Google Cloud. GCP snapshot management. Today we will see how we can create, restore and delete the snapshot in GCP. Snapshot in GCP. GCP provided you the option of taking snapshot backups to reduce the risk of unexpected data loss. As per the best practices, you should configure a regular snapshot to ensure data is backed up on regular schedule. You can create the snapshot on same device as override, or we can create separate machine or disk using the snapshot. You can perform a snapshot function using Google Cloud Web Console or G Cloud command line utility. You cannot change the storage location of existing snapshot, although snapshots are global resources. That means all resources in the project can access the snapshot. Also, you can share the snapshot across the project as well. You can snapshot your disk at most once every 10 minutes. This is the limit. You cannot schedule your snapshot in less than 10 minutes interval. The snapshot is cost-friendly backup approach. By default, snapshots are incremental and automatically compressed to avoid additional billing for redundant data and ensure the least usage of storage space. As per best practices and to maintain the reliability of snapshot history, a snapshot might occasionally capture the full image of your disk, or you can plan it accordingly. The snapshot does not require any downtime. You can create a snapshot from this even when while they are attached and running to instance. Snapshot availability and retrieval network cost are dependent on location. Snapshot location can be multi-region like US or Asia or regional storage. You can specify the location at a time of snapshot creation as default location will be geographically close to the location of machine or disk will be assigned. That means in case your VM instance is a part of US region or Asia region, Compute Engine will automatically align US multi-region or Asia multi-region as a snapshot location. For example, if your persistent disk is stored in US Central 1, your snapshot is stored in US multi-region by default. Snapshot network cost completely depends on the snapshot location. You can wisely choose the location to save the network cost. For example, if your source disk or instance is in Asia East 1, you can store your snapshot in Asia East 1 region or Asia multi-region. You would not occur a network cost when you access your snapshot from these locations. Whereas if your source disk is in Asia East 1 and you store your snapshot in Asia East 2 or some other region, then it will incur a network cost when you access your snapshot between two regions. Individual planning or scheduling the snapshot need to take care of these things so that so that you can use your budget wisely and reduce the cost by efficient or smart planning. Snapshot creation process. By default, snapshots are incremental to avoid additional billing for redundant data and ensure least usage of storage space. Let's consider an example and see how a snapshot works. Snapshot 1. This is the first snapshot of any disk and it will be the full one. Full snapshot contains all data and work as a baseline for next incremental backups. Snapshot 2. The next snapshot after full will be an incremental one. Only changes made after the last snapshot will be backed up. It also saves a reference to unchanged data from the last full snapshot. That means it's a purely incremental one so that no redundant data or duplicate data is backed up. Snapshot 3. All further snapshots after snapshot 2 contains any new or changed data since snapshot 2, but won't contain any unchanged data from snapshot 1 or 2. Instead of this, snapshot 3 contains references to block in snapshot 1 and 2 for unchanged data. And this chain continues. In snapshot 4, it will check for the things which are not changed after snapshot 3 and take the backup only changed data and creates a pointer with 1, 2, 3 snapshot. So this is a chain that GCP Compute Engine snapshot functionality maintains to ensure data recovery and to use the disk in optimal manner to reduce the cost or efficient usage of your budget. We also have image from Google documentation which also depict the same. We have a persistent disk A and in first we have taken the full snapshot and now in snapshot 2 it will contains only the change data and the rest of the things it automatically mapped from snapshot 1. And in snapshot 3, it's copying the data that was changed after snapshot 2 and creating a pointer for unchanged data with snapshot 2 and 3. Snapshot deletion process. We had reviewed the snapshot process and see how incremental snapshot depends on last incremental or full snapshot. Now, when you want to delete the snapshot, my concern is delete allowed for snapshot having dependent snapshot? And if yes, how snapshot chain will be maintained? GCP snapshots are very smart and they have an internal mechanism to maintain it. When you delete a snapshot, the Compute Engine check if a snapshot has any dependent snapshot or not. In case of no dependent snapshot, Compute Engine delete it immediately. However, if a snapshot does have dependent snapshot, then any data that is required for restoring other snapshots are moved into next snapshot and increase the size of that particular snapshot. If we consider the above example where we have taken a snapshot 1, 2, 3, and in 3 we have a reference pointers of snapshot to 1 and 2 along with the changes made after snapshot 2. In case we delete the snapshot 2, then snapshot 3 need to relink all the data from snapshot 1 and need to copy all updated changes or changes after snapshot 1 which was previously a part of snapshot 2, and this will result increase in size of snapshot 3. Any data that is not required for testing, any data which is not required for restoring other snapshots are deleted. This lowers the total size of your snapshots. The next snapshot no longer references the snapshot marked for deletion, considering the fact that this snapshot is a part of chain and have the dependent snapshot. But GCP copies all data from this snapshot to the next snapshot and relink the pointers for unchanged data. Let's start with the demo session over GCP snapshot management. Welcome to the demo session. In this session, we will explore how to schedule a snapshot, how to take ad hoc snapshots, and how to restore them back. For this, you just need to log in your Google Cloud Platform page and you need to go to Compute Engine. And in Compute Engine, you need to go to VM instances. For VM instances, why I ask you to come to VM instances? Just to ensure for which VM you want to take backup. We will use Rohit demo VM for the snapshot practice. Now we will go to snapshot option in left side pane. In this, you will find option snapshot and schedule a snapshot. For first activity, we will take the ad hoc snapshot. So we will create snapshot 1. So we will give a name Rohit demo VM snap. Now these are disk 1, disk 2, disk 3 and disk 5 and Rohit demo VM. In first activity, we are going to take the snapshot of complete instance Rohit demo VM. So we just select the machine, region it automatically pick multi-region and we will create. You will see this option that your free trial credit will be used for the snapshot. So that's we have. So we will create it, creating a snapshot of Rohit demo VM. The snapshot was created. In the same way, you can create the snap of or take the snapshot of disk data attached to VMs. So once it's completed, we will take the snapshot of particular disk instead of instance. In instance snapshot, please ensure it just snapshot the boot drive. Other attached disk with this instance is not snapped. So in meanwhile it's completing, we will click on create a snapshot and we will name is Rohit VM demo disk 3 and we have disk 3 here. This disk is currently attached to Rohit demo VM, again multi-region, and you can just click on create. And snapshot creation is in progress. And now you can see VM snapshot is created. Now let's take one more snapshot of VM instance and ensure whether it's going to take a full snapshot or incremental one. So create a snapshot, name Rohit demo VM snap 2. Snapshot is currently generating, and you will see it's somewhere around 0 byte or very less bytes, because this will be the incremental snapshot. We have just studied in the PPT session that the GCP snapshot works on an incremental method. Once they have a full snapshot as a baseline, further snapshot will be incremental one. So you can see snap 2 of Rohit demo VM is of 0 byte. Now you will ask why disk 3 snapshot of 0 byte, because this disk is completely blank. We have not saved any data in this, that's why it's not taking any snapshot size. So this is the way how you can create the snapshot, ad hoc snapshots of your disk or your VM. In case of full snapshot is available, the snapshot that you will take will be the incremental one like this. Now we will restore these snapshots. For this, we will go to VM instances. We will click on create instance. We will name Rohit demo VM snap recovery, because we are going to create this machine with the recovery of a snapshot. And in boot image, you need to click on change, and you have an option of snapshot. Once you click on drop down, you will see the option of snapshot of this 3, snapshot of machine, and incremental snapshot of instance. So we will go with the full snapshot. It will create 10 GB persistent disk for the boot, and we will click on select. Also, once you go to management and disk, you can add a additional disk from here, and it also gives you option whether you want to use the snapshot of existing disk. And when you click here, you will get the option of Rohit demo VM disk 3. If you select this option, it automatically pick the size of 600 GBs, because this particular snapshot is of disk which is of 600 GBs. If you set done, it will create a disk with this snapshot at the VM creation. In case you don't want to do it now, after VM is created, you can just edit the properties and add a VM disk using this snapshot. So we will add the disk now only, and we will click on create. Your machine is creating with the snapshot one. In meantime, machine is creating. Let's go to any of the instance and see how you can add new disk using that snapshot instead of adding it at the time of VM creation. So we will just click on add it, and in add it, when you go down, you have an option of add new disk. When you click on add new disk, it gives you the same option that you just saw at the time of VM creation, blank disk image or snapshot. And in snapshot, you will see the option of disk 3 snapshot. You can select it, and it will automatically pick the 600 GB as a size, and you can confirm it. You can confirm it, and you can save it, and this will result a new disk in this VM with the size of 600 GBs using the snapshot of disk 3. So in this way, you can create a disk on existing VM using the snapshot, or you can create a disk using a snapshot during VM creation as well. Your machine is created. Once you go to the machine, you can see that we have not specified details, but it has everything. And now it has one 600 GB drive which is created through the snapshot. Till now we have seen that how we can create the full snapshot, how we can take the incremental snapshots, because we have not doing anything in incremental snapshot. GCP is automatically deciding whether it's going to take full or incremental, and how we can restore VMs or disk using the snapshots. Now we have left with two things: deletion of a snapshot and schedule of a snapshot. For this, we will go to the snapshot again, and in a snapshot schedule, you have option of create a snapshot schedule. You can also click option coming above the window, create snapshot schedule. Schedule name, you can give any of the schedule name here, and description as per your requirements. We are not changing anything, that it's going to take daily. Schedule start time is this. Delete snapshot after 14 days. Deletion rule is once you delete the disk, should it delete the snapshot associated with the disk, or a snapshot will retain till the time of retention. So we will say that keep snapshots. Enable VSS copy. Now we will click on create. Schedule is created. As of now, this schedule is not going to do anything. It's just a schedule. We have not attached any disk or VM along with this schedule, so that this schedule can take the backup or a snapshot of those particular objects. For this, you need to go to the disk, and in disk, you can click any of the disk drive. Let's see, we will go with the disk 4. And in disk 4, once you click on edit, you will get the option of snapshot schedule. It's saying no schedule. Once you click on it, you will get the option of schedule 1. That means once you click save, this particular disk 4 is now attached with the schedule 4. And when that schedule run, it will automatically take the snapshot of disk 4. You can assign one particular schedule to multiple disks or instances for their backup. Let's see whether it's yes or not. Let's go to some other. Yeah, we will choose the boot disk for a backup. We'll click on edit, and now schedule a snapshot, and we are still getting the option of schedule 1. So that means one schedule can be shared by multiple disks in this way. Let's go back to snapshot again. So now we will see how we can delete the snapshot. For this, you just need to click on the snapshot. Let's clean all of them because we just created one for the demo session, and click on delete 3 snapshots. Deleting a snapshot. The snapshots are deleted. So friends, I hope you have a better understanding now that how you can manage the snapshots in your Google Cloud Platform account. We have completed our today's session for complete guide on virtual machine in Google Cloud Platform. Thanks for watching. For any questions, please leave comment on videos or contact us.